Hi, and welcome to yet another episode of Success Builders. Hope you're all well today. I'm very excited to have with us Amy Ebert. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm
Good.
doing great. Thank you, Ricardo, for having me on the show. I appreciate you inviting me to be here today. So I'm doing great because I just happen to be on vacation right now in Laguna. So I've got the beach right here in front of me on the other side of the camera right here.
I'm so jealous right
So
now. That's so cool.
right.
So where you
That's what's
where
great
you
about this line of work. You can just bring your microphone and do that anywhere, right?
exactly. So where are you usually from?
Normally, usually for a long time now, we've been living in Las Vegas. So it's not too long of a trip to get to Laguna. It's about a 4 hour drive.
That's not
So
bad
we
at all.
drove this time. Yeah, it's not, but it's been a really long time since I've been to the beach. So we were due. We were due. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been to Vegas before. I've been to the States, just to Florida when I was younger, but
Oh,
Vegas, I haven't had the pleasure of you know, being able to see all those awesome hotels and things in Vegas. I see them on TV and stuff, but I've never actually seen
oh my
them,
gosh. It's
in
crazy.
person.
It's crazy. Vegas is one of those places you can stay in the one casino for your entire trip and you still
Yeah,
would maybe get lost in those casinos. They're huge. And
yeah,
so we get a little spoiled when we do like a staycation in Las Vegas compared to going to other places sometimes because you literally could just like stay in the hotel and you have tons of restaurant options, massive, gorgeous pools and hot tubs.
shows and
And
things like that, live
yeah,
shows and that sort
there's
of thing. Yeah,
shows. Yes, the nightlife, because you could really have a good nightlife even without the gambling. So,
yeah. So I'm in like a small town in New Zealand. We have like zero nightlife. In fact,
oh,
off,
wow.
yeah, in fact, after 3 p.m. in the afternoon, we can't even get a coffee.
What? Oh my gosh, I've never
Yeah,
been there. Wow.
yeah.
So, okay, is that all of New Zealand or just because you're in a small town?
No, I'm in a small town in central New Zealand, so it's just about 45,000 people in it. And but other towns in New Zealand have a better nightlife, but not anywhere near the extent of Vegas or even Europe. So New Zealand is a little bit of uh, it's the country that the world kind of forgot, and it's still like 10 years behind the rest of the world in some aspects. Um,
Really?
yeah, but
Oh, wow.
but nature is
Is it
great here.
scenic?
Yeah, it's
Is it
beautiful.
yeah.
We have a bit of everything. We have mountains, we have gorges and lakes and rivers and a whole bunch of things. I'm in wine country. We have a lot of wine estates where I am, and sheep and beef farming. We have a beach, so it's quite nice. It's so if you like nature and trails, there's so many trails to do over here where I am. I haven't even done all of them, so it's a really nice country to visit. Yeah.
So then
Um,
you probably get really good meat also. If there's the beef farming there, you probably get really good meat right
fu
there.
Funny enough, they export all the good stuff. And then we actually
Really?
are, yeah, that's actually generally how it works. They export the good stuff, and then the locals get the stuff that, well, isn't actually premium grade, I think. Because there's more money in export because, there's a higher price that can be put on it. So,
Right, exactly.
so
I'm actually
unfortunately,
from wine country myself in Northern
oh yeah,
California. We have wine
oh
country
nice.
there. So I know a little bit about wine country. Northern California, there's Napa, Sonoma, Mendocino. So it's really beautiful. Busier, I'm sure, than obviously what you're talking about there.
Yeah. So, I understand that what you're doing now is you've got you have a program called 10x on camera, and you're helping entrepreneurs and coaches to show up as a better version of themselves on screen, because everything nowadays is online. Ever since the pandemic, most coaching has moved online now. So. We'd love to learn a bit more about that, but maybe before we learn about that, tell us a bit about your journey, where you come from, and how you transitioned into doing what you do today.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, that's a very good point. Obviously, that things are it's an online world nowadays. Like you're in New Zealand and I'm here in California talking to you right now on this podcast. So that's a pretty cool thing. It's cool. And then for some people, it's like, dang it, I have to now put myself out there on video, right? And there is, I don't want to get into the statistics, but their statistics do show that people really want to see who they're buying from on camera. So it's a great tool for people to use video. So the sooner people do it, just the better in the long term for the journey. As far as going back a little bit before I got to this part, like I had told you, I was, we're from a wine country, small town in wine country, actually in Northern California. I am, and then I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. So I've always been interested in people. And then, but the one thing I really didn't want to do was just sit in an office and just ask people questions all day. So the odd thing is, eventually, I moved to Las Vegas. There's a few more years in there of other things I was doing, but
Yeah.
but the next thing I ended up doing for a long period of time was I was a hairstylist, and I had a higher end clientele for about 20 years. And the funny thing is, it's kind of like you're kind of doing the psychology thing as well, in addition to the outer and the inner transformation at the same time. But it's a little different than just sitting there as a therapist and just asking questions and just doing that all day long.
Yeah.
Oh, quite a bit. I mean, you get to be creative too. So that's one of the things for me is I have to feel like I have to be creative too in anything that I'm doing. I've noticed the difference. And are you creative as well? Are
Yeah.
you a creative
Yeah.
person? Yeah. Okay. So do you feel the same way where when if you're not doing it, you notice you like don't feel like yourself? Do you ever have periods of
Yeah,
time
exactly.
in your life?
So I'm actually a big believer in what's called ikigai. That is a Japanese principle where you kind of intersect your passions with your skills with something that you can make money from. And
Mm,
that is super important to get a balanced um, approach to what you do professionally, right? Because if you're doing something that you don't enjoy or you don't have the skills for, you are not going to be as successful as if you tick all those boxes, right? So that's the
yes.
principles of ikigai, and I really believe in
Guy.
that. Yeah,
Guy. I don't
I'll
ever
send
have
it to
my
you later.
pencil
Don't
for
worry.
this.
I'll send it to you
Oh my
later.
gosh, yes, I've got to because that's kind of like that's even without me realizing about this, without me realizing about Ikigai, I that's in my formula, in the method that we use is we combine these things because for myself, I notice if I don't have it. And then we use acting techniques as well. So I'm like, okay, so which I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I'll go back, where it's showing up on camera is different than in person anyway. Okay, so sometimes people are kind of creating it the same way. It's different, right? But you just like if you watch a play, you watch something in person, and then you watch something, a movie, right, on
Yeah,
TV. Okay, so but either way, we take the part of the character journey and put that in when you think about in respect to what makes that character pop off the screen, what even reading it in the book, right? What are those things? It's they're always going for something, they're wanting to get something out of the deal, and there's like some big overarching goal where they are that helps them overcome obstacles, right? And so your heart obviously has to be connected in that
yeah,
place. And so that's where the creative part comes, right? Sometimes if people are just chasing the dollars, like you're saying in business, and maybe it's just like that is only their next goal. Even people that are successful in the financial part of things still feel like the meaning part isn't there.
yeah.
So is that kind of something with Ikigai that kind of has that in there? Like the meaning, I think, is maybe part of the creative part, and with your heart, that's all
Yeah, that's
connected.
especially something that you have to be passionate about, but you also have to have the skills to do it, and then it has to be something that you can make money from. There's no sense in doing something that you can't make money from because then, well, you can't survive. You have
Yeah,
to do something else
it is a
alongside.
business.
Yeah, that has to be a
Yes.
business around it. And like what you say with the character, first thing that came to mind was Super Mario, right? So he's out there, he's collecting coins and stuff, but his main mission is to save the princess. Okay. So Princess Peaches, I think it is.
Yes.
Okay. So that's his overarching quest and his overarching goal is to go and save the princess. But along the way, he's picking up coins and cash, right?
Yeah, yeah. To get him further along in the journey, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You need
yeah,
those coins and cash to get you further in the journey. Yes,
yeah, exactly.
exactly. Yes. So there's with our system, there's a financial goal as well. 100%. Okay, so I was uh, doing that as a hairstylist for I can't even believe it was almost 2 decades. So it's so crazy to think how time just really flies in that respect, right? And I got to the point where I can do hair in my sleep. Like even still nowadays, if I it's like literally for me, it's like riding a bike. So if anybody needed something, like I would be like it'd be like the next day for me, because that's how long I did it
Yeah,
for. And then I'm one of those people talking about the creative. I'm also a perfectionist. So it's like creative and perfectionist. So it's like I always have to be improving or something, right? So I don't let the perfectionism part stop me. And that's one of the things with people too. It's like helping them reframe their brain for the creative to think of or the perfectionist part to think in terms of using it as going for excellence opposed to using it as a procrastination.
yes,
We
that's
just
one of
don't
the
want to
biggest
procrastinate,
hurdles.
right?
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, okay, so then I'm doing that, and then you have my son, and I want to just be able to have more freedom to do all the stuff with my son, and I'm also acting and modeling at this time as well. So it was like we, as a family, my husband and I just decided to have like some other business that we could do where we could have one. I didn't have to be in the salon all day to be working. So we just started an e-commerce, which I almost always leave out. I kind of forget about it because it was like we were doing this while we sold over $1 million in products, but it's like we just it wasn't like it was fun for a while, and then all of a sudden it just started being like a real chore. And so that was when
Yeah.
it came to like, okay, new things need to happen, right? Um, and so this has just kind of evolved over time into this space where getting into the coaching space, I've dabbled in it before, and my clients would have good success because I like to focus on helping them have results, right? My son is a highly competitive athlete, so even when we coach their teams and things, we help these kids along. I don't even know if it's just natural, like if you just kind of know to see certain things in people, and then you can just help them. And maybe some people see things and they just aren't willing to say it. I don't know. You have to kind of have the right way to say things too, right? To so that people aren't offended. But it's like if you're their coach, it's like that's part of the role.
Yeah, that's basically like leaders, the one of the common traits in leaders, they have emotional intelligence or
Hmm.
EQ, a high emotional quotient, which is different to IQ. And that is what allows coaches to uh, you know, notice these things in the people that they are helping, and to be able to be the most effective and to empathize and to change their coaching strategies around the person that they're helping. So it's basically that emotional intelligence that you're talking about that allows you to see these things.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I think some people get that confused though with even compassion. And it's like you still have to help them get results. As a
Yes.
coach, it's not like can't be just because sometimes the it's both, right? It's you have to help people get results as well. If you're a coach and you're very compassionate, but you aren't, the team's always losing and no one's getting, you'll probably lose the job, right? If it's like I just think of sports all the time, right?
Yeah.
Too, with that kind of a thing. It's like you also have to focus on the results. So that maybe is part of that with the EQ, where it's not just it's the empathy, maybe it's empathy and then moving forward and going to the next level and having some level of inspiration, or at least helping people to find their own goal. And because sometimes that's missing in some coaching programs as well, is they're not really paying attention to the individual and what their goal is. And I feel like in our experience, it helps when they know what their goal is, right? When they have their vision and their goal.
That's actually really good because I can imagine how a lot of programs are focused on the process and on the system, but not really on the payoff or the payout sort of thing of what uh, the trainees are actually going to achieve at the end of the training. So it's so good to like put a focus on that, and in a way that is a form of visualization and visualizing
Mhm.
an outcome. So you're not just doing the training and doing the coaching for the sake of doing it. You are doing it with a visualization of an end outcome. Are you going to be a 10x better speaker at the end? Are you going to go on stage? Are you going to create impact? That sort of thing. So I was actually listening to one of your podcasts, your last one, visualizing through stories,
Yeah,
and that was actually really cool. And you were talking about how athletes they visualize the game, they visualize how they win and everything like that. Really in a vivid level, right? And that helps to change the neuroplasticity of the brain to actually, um, be able to um, at least attempt to influence the outcome. Yeah,
right.
that was
Yes,
really powerful. Yeah, I really enjoyed
yes.
listening to that.
Oh, good, good. And that 100%, yeah, and just at a cellular level, right? At a cellular level for that. And that works 100% because I will say I've actually tried to experiment with this a little bit with us with because like I said, I told you how my son is a highly competitive athlete and he's like this in all sports. So he's
Okay.
just one of those people that just kind of has that when it comes to any sports. We'll try something else just because we don't do the thing that a lot of other parents do when their kids are good in one sport. They just kind of jam it down their throat like all the time. And we do the multiple sports. We do the variety, and everything we've read says we're doing the right thing because we'll do a lot of research as well and just be like, instead of just listening to what other people are doing, we're going to do the research too, right? So
Right.
we I practiced this with a season with basketball, and we have more control over it when we're also coaching it, right? We have some level of control when there's another coach involved and we're not in charge of that. But whenever we're coaching it, we have obviously even more control over it because it's like we're all on board together with the visualizing and the outcome. And like you just brought up right now about how the athletes down to every little tiny thing, we will do that where I wasn't doing it for several games at all. And then just to kind of experiment. And it was just, the results were not as good. Okay, let's just put it that
Yeah.
way. And so then we added in, I was like, okay, let's get back to let's do this with the visualizing, and we'll do it even as a group, right? And then we'll add the visualizing back in, and like we were just bringing up from the tip off, the tip off, who gets the ball, where it's going to go, who scores first, how is it going to be, how many points we're going to be up on the first, like all this stuff. And then it literally starts to happen. Now, the first time you do it, is every single thing going to happen? Probably not, right? But you've now, like you're saying, had some level of control over the outcome going in a positive direction. So it's just worth the time to do, really, because like we've tested it ourselves and it helps. And obviously, if these professional athletes are doing it and it works and they're the best in the world, then we should learn something from them,
Exactly.
right?
Agreed. Agreed. So, is that the basis of some of your teachings of the 10x on camera course?
Yeah, we do visualizing, also journaling. We'll start with a baseline as well, like you were talking about, seeing the difference of like, the transformation. So we'll start with a baseline
Mhm.
and then celebrate wins all throughout. And then obviously there's the bigger result at the end, that kind of a thing. So there's visualizing, there's journaling, because that's another thing too that I don't even know if I've really gotten into that too much in the podcast. I might have mentioned it maybe in one of my podcasts, but I probably should bring that up as well. Some people don't like to journal, right? Some people don't. Are you a journaler?
Not really, to be honest.
No. Yeah.
No.
I think some people, just like meditation, people don't. always like. So that's why it's like, well, at least visualize, right? That you can do. But
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
people don't like the
definitely.
meditation because it's like clear your brain. Now I'm thinking about clearing my mind. And it's like, yeah, I get that. I understand why that would be challenging. But we do. We have actually even, we just came out with this. We have one of our courses that we had before that was just goal setting. We have a vision board video or, tutorial for people that that we've added into this course that we have, where people can put together their vision board that they can have just on their phone and on their computer. So we have like a whole tutorial on exactly how to put that together as well. Because it's like, okay, so now we're thinking about who we want to become also, because that's part of it, right? In the journey is if you're just thinking about your to-do list, that's when it can become like a real drag. Um, I'll speak for myself, especially when it comes to like if I have a bunch of tech things. Some people love tech. I've become pretty good at it over the course of the year with the podcast and everything else on the back end of things because I want as much automated as I possibly can. That I could actually help people with it now, which is kind of crazy. But it's not something that I would go around and be like, I want to teach you tech. Like I'll give you the video for it if you want me to help you out. But like, is this going to be my main program? Not so much.
Yeah. Um, and so do you also help people with speaking on stage, or is it mainly on camera?
Since we're going to be on camera for the course, um, pretty much done on camera, but it's going to help you speak on stage as well. Because I've also done
Right.
stage work, so it's just like it's 100% going to. The confidence is what goes up so much that now speaking on stage, it's different. It's different. So some people if I think I heard actually Alex Hormozy talk about this once when he was going to speak on stage for something when
Right.
he first was practicing. He said that he was practicing in the mirror and he was doing his whole routine in the mirror only. And he didn't think about the fact that like he didn't do any of the visualizing whenever he first was, I don't know if it was his first time, but one of his first times, right? When he was going to go speak now to a live audience. So then it was just kind of like, wait, I don't have my fourth wall, right, in acting. But it's like there's all these people that I didn't plan on when I was practicing in the mirror the whole time. So that would be just something just to add in on visualizing. Okay, now for you to do this in person, add in that there's an audience. And
That's
even
right.
that moment before, right? That's even something. Have you done any acting, Ricardo?
And yeah, in the school plays and things like that, but n not like any um uh proper acting, no. I actually believe that you have because you on your profile it says that you've been a model and an actress. So tell us a bit about that.
Okay. So one of the things as an actor, and maybe you remember this from your plays, because you still would want to do this before you go out on the stage, right? Is you think about you had a life before that first line came out, right? And you could still use this with a speech, even though you're not coming out and like playing a character that's bouncing off another character. You're coming out, maybe you're just speaking on your own, right? With your microphone, and you still have that there was a life before. And that's some of the things that even with people on camera, they'll be like, I don't know how to start. It's just like, think about you had a life before. It's not like, this is when you start, like there was thinking about that. And in the acting world, they call it a moment before. So that is something that people can use on stage and they can use it on the camera as well. Sometimes taking an action, like, I'll say even for somebody, if it's on camera, it's like, just pick up a pen or something. If that's something that you want to do to start, people think it's like the start is that first word. It's like you had a life before, if you're coming out on stage and you have a life before on the camera. So just blend that all together. It's called the moment before. And that's something that is a great acting tip that people can use for speaking as well, really, instead of acting like, okay, I have all this buildup and then I'm going to say my first word. It's like, no, all right. So I just, I got my microphone in my hand or whatever that is. I'm walking out. Like it starts before you're out there,
Starts
before
off
the camera
stage,
starts
yeah.
on.
Starts, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could
Yeah.
actually be something that we could use on social media, like when doing lives, because I know it's can be quite daunting when you press the live button and you sit there, pause for a while, like a deer in the headlights, not knowing what to say. So you kind of need to plan the moment before, or even start speaking before you press the record button, uh, in preparation. And then when you get to the point of where you're going to start telling the meat and potatoes of what you're going to say, then you press record, so that you really have that momentum going into the live. Um, that could be potentially another technique that one could do. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
Definitely. I actually think I did a short about it. And I did have a short that I put out there that we kind of likened it to some people will start, it's like the Kentucky Derby, where like the horses are out of the gate and then all of a sudden you're just like rushing out, now that it's like the live thing is on, I'm gonna go and da 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 da. And I'm a fast talker, so I could probably still talk fast, but some people you can tell it's really they're just like rushing through it,
Yes.
right? There's a difference with the people who are rushing through it more so than like they naturally maybe would talk fast, so it's just like that's not what we're doing. This isn't like the gates open and go. So that's funny that you bring that up, because I put a short together. We kind of made fun of it. Like my son will help me with production. He's actually the one helping me with production here today. So
Oh,
he
cool.
helps me on the production side of things. It's helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Um, and how do you do your training? Is it based on like is it a form of a course, or is it one-to-one training or group training? How does that normally look?
We have different options and different tiers, I guess. There's something that's as affordable for anybody. We start with even some low ticket models that we have for people that are just going to get started, just to get going in some direction, right? And then based on where they are on their journey income wise, then there can go to longer courses, right? And then there's also one-to-one. So we have it just based on where they are in their journey and what level of commitment that they want to put in. So right now, actually, we're offering one where it is developing that. I think who calls it this? I got this name from oh my gosh, what's his last name? I forget who it is, but the attractive character, right? Because if you are going to be representing your business on camera, you really have to think about being a personal brand. And then some people will still try to steer people away from that. And I think it's really bad advice to steer people away from the personal brand. I'm like, you are on camera. So even if you work for a company, even if you're representing Frito-Lay or whatever, you still want to represent, like, you're still the personal brand of yourself, and you still have like this whole person that you're bringing to the party. So we incorporate those things together with helping you develop that strong attractive character, right? The unstoppable attractive character. So there's a personal brand level. So that's one of the things we're working on quite a bit right now that people are having good success with, is this, because it's combining that on camera with the personal brand. And people will think of personal brand, you think of like a logo and your colors and your fonts and things. It's like, no, it's like, I mean, it's just who you are and how you're going to show up, and what your values are, what you stand for. And then it's very clear. And then you just line up with the other people that are also in this journey, and then you can have more speaking options, like with this, or in person or whatever. Like, oh, we're all wanting to push this thing out, whatever the value system is. You align with the people that are all align in that same similar value system, right? And it could be just something, just meritocracy or whatever it is. I mean, whatever your thing is, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily like a political values or anything like that. It could just mean that, like, it's helping people be their best version of themselves, right? It's like something along those lines. And somewhere where you are in that journey, you can partner with other people and make that even stronger for people. So that's one of the things that we're doing quite a bit right now. It's just is a good time of year to this is something, usually it's like with something, but we're isolating it for some people, so that, because this time of year it's like Q4, right? Everyone's going to holiday parties. I remember that when I was a hairstylist, I was
Yeah.
busy, right? Everybody's like, I want to look my best, I want to feel my best. I'm going to Christmas parties, I'm going to New Year's parties, I'm going to holiday parties. There's parties. So everybody wants to look and feel their best. So that's why we isolated this piece and kind of made it as a standalone for right now also, because usually it's like incorporated with other things. but we also have it as a standalone so that like it's makes it a little more affordable for people that want to get in and do that too. And it's all those things, the inner and the outer transformation. And they go through, I don't want to give it all away because it's like each week there's something different. But
Yes.
like there's one week where they're going to make, because some people have a hard time making decisions, right? So that's kind of one of those things that holds people back. So I believe it's week 3 where people are making about 100 decisions that get them in momentum. First, it's let's get clear about your value system, your brand, who you help, what you're up to, all of that stuff. And then we go into, and there is one-on-one with all of it too. That's another thing I was going to mention is with this, you get some one-on-one, which isn't normally in this portion as well, unless it's in, with the bigger program. And then it helps people start making these decisions that are a lot of decisions that are not going to negatively impact you in any way. It'll only help you to make decisions like for your business
Right,
without me
right.
giving too much of it away. It's like personal stuff, but it gets you in the habit of like, this is a good thing for me. This is not a good thing for me. And then you can use that, isolate that, and then put that into your business as well.
Cool. And I just want to add in that, having a personal brand is actually so important because that is one of the things that you actually take away from you if you're working for some other company. Like the best example of that is an estate agent. Most of their marketing has their face on it. They will always be on the for sale board. You'll have the picture of the agent. Um, and the agent might actually change companies. Like once or twice they might skip to a different company, but you'll always remember their face and you'll always remember them as the authority in property. So they still actually take their clientele with them across to the different agency most of the time, just because they have that recognizability. And an estate agent is probably the best way to explain the importance of a personal brand. If it was faceless, they didn't have their face on the for sale boards and that sort of thing, and then they go to another agency, they're less be likely to take the client base with them, because they don't have that
Yes.
recognizability. So that's
Yes,
why
that's
it's
a
so
great
important.
example.
Mm.
Yes, that's a great example. Exactly. They have their faces. I don't know. Do you guys have billboards there?
Mm. Yeah,
Okay. Well, in Las Vegas, we have a lot of billboards.
I'm sure.
There's like a
I'm
lot
sure
of
it's
billboards.
more
Yeah.
billboards and buildings.
Yes, there's a lot of billboards. So, yeah, and there's realtors and they got their face. That's a perfect example. That's exactly it, right? They'll have their face on the billboards, on their cards, wherever they go, but they
That's
might,
right.
be it with one realtor 1 year for a certain amount of time, and then they go somewhere else, right? And they still, if they aren't recognized, then it's like, who are you? Yeah. And they're putting themselves out there on photos, on videos. They're doing ads in Las Vegas. They're doing ads locally as well.
Yes.
Um,
Or on the radio
big,
even and that sort of thing.
yes, yes, exactly. So, yeah, that's a great example, and that's why I think people they'll think about it as like their website. You know what I mean? And it's like, how many times have you gone to, I mean, a realtor's website or something, right? I mean, you don't really. You see the photos and the video. You see you're looking for a house,
Yes,
and so you see them when you're looking for the house. I don't know if I've ever gone to a realtor's website. It's more so you're looking at the houses, and then you see their photos and videos and
that's
everything
right.
there.
Yeah,
So it's
or
like
on some
people
kind of
think that as like their
classifieds
website.
website or something like similar to Craigslist, I'd imagine. Not that I've been on Craigslist, but um, probably that sort of thing where a whole bunch of different agencies they have the houses up on a central registry or something like that, and then you see all the agents there as well. Um, yeah, and then most of the time, like you would connect with the agent that is more in tune with your type of personality. Like, if you're a mum, you might connect with a female agent, or if you're a man selling your house, you may connect with a man agent, sort of thing. So it just depends because, like, that's why it's so important to also niche down, is because um, if you're selling to everyone, you're selling to no one, as they say. So,
So
um,
true. And
Yeah.
that's what people, that's the funny thing, right? Is like that so people are so afraid to niche down because they don't want to alienate anyone, but then you're alienating
And
everyone.
everyone. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So it's like, that's not good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another one that people are afraid to do sometimes, right? Is niche down. And I mean, it's not like you need to go out there and um, be like, I don't know, like have these viral videos where you're being, um,
Hyper feminist or
you know,
something.
it's what?
Like being like hyper feminist or something just to attract the female niche only.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. I mean, I guess if that's really what you're into, then hey, but I don't really see, I mean, that's a weird thing to like just to really focus on that for like a coaching business or for a realtor's business so much, right? But
Yeah.
hey, maybe um that's actually really funny that you bring that up because somebody did want me to be in this magazine and they had me fill this form out the other day and it was literally like the third question about what do you think of something with feminism, right? And I never think about it, frankly. So I was just I don't think about it. I don't do anything with it. I just um I don't know. I don't think about it at all. And so it's just like if this is kind of going down that path where this is what they want. And I was just honest. I said, if this is really the kinds of people that you're looking for, I'm probably not a good fit for the magazine. I'm not going to mold myself to this where whatever anybody else does is their choice. But as far as me, I'm not like oh, I'm like, are they coming in the room here? As far as I go, that's not something that I promote. I mean, if they ask me about like cats, I can. I mean, I'm a cat person. I can give them information. Like, what do you think of cats? Oh, I got plenty to say. But as far as feminism, I'm like, oh, if this is the direction that this is going, then you
It's
might
not
not.
your area, no.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
um, my personal view is that a lot of the time, even the um, you know, macho activism side of things, a lot of it I feel to actually trying too hard to niche down. Me personally, you know.
Oh,
Uh, you know,
yeah.
and it's being sensationalist as well because a lot of that, has a lot of triggers. I mean, from the feminist standpoint, the man's enemy, this and that, and you're creating that enemy, which
Yes.
sometimes in certain coaching you learn to create an enemy, and then you provide the solution to be able to protect themselves from the enemy, be it a community that is all supportive and they're all like standing against the enemy sort of thing. So I guess maybe the rise of feminism and even the male version of it has probably come about more of a sensationalist approach to try and get followers, and that is my
Mm.
personal view. It's just because it's such an easy trigger, right? Um,
Yes.
so that is
Yes.
potentially why it's so prolific nowadays, because everyone wants to be seen on socials, and that's the way people are differentiating themselves or niching down. Um,
Right. They're choosing something like that. And it's like, do you really know? Like, then, okay, like, okay, with feminism, if the men are the enemy, how is that helping you?
yeah,
All men are the enemy. How is that helping you out long? Does that mean your brother? Does that mean your father? Does that mean your potential mate? Is that your husband? Like,
your son even. I
um,
mean,
your
how does that
son?
feel? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah,
How does that feel for your son? Good
yeah,
point. Exactly. Exactly. And I'm that household too. When my son has friends over, they can be loud. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I let them be loud. So I think they like being in my house. So because I'm like, I love the energy of them just being, that's like with the sports and everything. It's like, this is where you can just kind of go all out.
yeah,
Like don't hold back when it comes to sports, especially, right? Like just this is where you can kind of put it all out there. And they love that. They love that because they know that, we don't like to stifle that. It's fun. It's fun, right? It's more fun to kind of
exactly.
to put that stuff out there, right? So I think that they like sometimes they'll have to like leave somebody else's house because they're getting loud. And I get that. I mean, I get that. Some people don't want that. They don't have to, right? They don't have to. I just like it.
No, that's like really awesome, and it's so cool that you're, helping your son to, really have a good mindset towards sports and, a healthy attitude towards it. And I think sports is just so good. I mean, I wish I was more sporty when I was younger, but unfortunately, I wasn't.
Mm.
But sports can create leaders. I mean, sports really
Yeah.
does. And like I see all the movies about the American quarterbacks, that's like the leader of the team sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even though we don't have American football here, but I understand the sentiment behind it. So
Is soccer
yeah,
big there?
uh, rugby. We
Rugby.
do
Okay.
more rugby here.
Hmm.
Because as part of the Commonwealth, I was actually from South Africa before New Zealand. We, South Africa, England, and New Zealand and Australia are all very big on rugby and cricket.
Mm.
Those are our main sports that we do. Soccer as well, but not to the same degree. It's more rugby and cricket as the main ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I am familiar with American football from the media and things like that, although it's not something we have in our culture so much. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
kept him away from that a little bit too. We did flag, and that's the extent of it. But my cousin has boys, and they all do tackle football.
yeah, that can be quite dangerous. Same as rugby, it's all like very physical and you tackle and
Right.
they don't even have the gear that you guys have in American football. They have no gear. They have no helmets. They have
That's so
nothing.
crazy.
They just yeah,
And
it's
and so nothing big has happened, I guess, that they felt like they, or is it just because it's like they're not as strict on things as maybe America?
I honestly don't know. I can't say. I'm sure there's been injuries. There has to have been injuries.
There has to have been, right?
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. It's like they don't have any protective gear at all. M maybe mouth guards is about as far as they go, but I've never seen anything else. Yeah, yeah. And you have these big
Well,
men, like these massive men in rugby, and they're all like clashing into each other and tackling and all this sort. And they don't have any protective gear. It's crazy. So like,
oh my gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
um,
mean, as much as I say I want him to be full bore, it's like I also like the protective. If you need protective gear, you need to wear. That's also that's my first rule is safety
yeah.
first.
Safety first,
That's my
absolutely.
first rule is safety first. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Like that's the first thing. And then, so you have to make sure you have all uh the nets, and whatever it is you need, right? The nets, like whatever like if you're walking a tightrope, right? Like that
yeah,
kind of a thing. I mean, these kids that do like skateboarding, that's crazy. That's just crazy to me, right?
yeah.
I don't know if I'd be that parent that would be cool with that. I don't know. I'm just like, wow, you know, no, they're not. I mean, nowadays maybe they're wearing helmets, but those kids are a lot of times they're not wearing helmets.
Oh, back in the day when I was younger, I never saw anyone wearing helmets. Everyone just used to
No,
go. Yeah.
no,
They didn't even wear
no. You just
seatbelts
have
in my days,
no.
and they used to smoke on airplanes and things like that.
Smoking airplanes. Somebody had a story the other day where they were talking about their mom was in the doctor's office they were when they were a little kid. The
Yeah,
mom and the doctor were sitting in the doctor's office, like smoking a cigarette together in the doctor's
I
office,
can
like for
imagine
the
that.
kids like checkup.
I can
They're
so
just
imagine
like,
that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, just
I can so imagine
puffing
it.
away,
That's so
and it's
crazy.
just like, oh my
Society has
God. Yeah,
changed, eh?
like, yeah. And my mom said that my dad would just hold the baby on his lap and drive the car.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I mean, if you have an accident, the
How?
baby's gonna get squashed between you and the steering wheel. That's crazy.
Yeah. And these were
Yeah,
just maybe because the cars were just huge back then. They were just massive
don't
piles
know.
of metal. I don't know. Like how was this okay? And for some reason, all of a sudden it was like, oh, that's dangerous. It wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago. But I guess we haven't even had cars that long really either when you think about things like the
No,
grand scheme of how long things have been around, right?
probably less than 100 years. I mean, like in mass production, um, definitely less than 100 years, I reckon. Um, no, maybe about that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
about a
20s?
century of
Was it the
cars.
20s?
20s, yeah, but even in the 20s, I'm sure there were still horses around and horse and carts in the
Mm,
20s, I'd guess. But probably like more like the 40s, 30s and 40s to 50s is when the cars started being more prolific. Um, Definitely 60s and 70s. Um, uh, you know. But yeah, so it's crazy how the world is changing, and we have to keep up. That's why we need to do things like being on camera and being our
Yeah,
best version of ourselves, so we can stay ahead of the times, right? And
absolutely.
yeah, so I would recommend anyone who is wanting to up their game to definitely go on Amy's course, connect with her, and become the better speaker on camera. So if someone wanted to get involved with you, what is the best way, Amy?
I would say what they could do is they could just go to 10xoncamera.com because that one's the easiest to remember. The URL for the quiz I change, or they can even just so on Instagram. I'm at Amy Seddon Ebert. If they were like, hey, I want that quiz, they can just send me a note and then I'll send them the link for the quiz. But 10xoncamera.com is a way to at least get in, and then you can get my return email. And I just like that one because it's just the easiest to remember. But if they want to go to Instagram and say, hey, I want to get in that quiz, or I want to do that the leveling up on camera or whatever they're interested in, any questions people have, they can just send me a note on Instagram at Amy Seddon, Seddon Ebert, and then that
Fantastic.
also they can get in touch with me that way.
Cool. I'll also add all that into the link below. So please check that out and click on it and make connection with Amy. It's been wonderful having you on the show. Thank you so much. It was so much fun. Um,
Yes, so much fun. Thank you, Ricardo. Appreciate you asking me to come on the show. So it's been a lot of
it's an
fun. Thank
absolute
you.
pleasure, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time over there on holiday. And
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great.
awesome. So thanks everyone for tuning in again. And as usual, remember to always dream big and build bigger. Till next time. See ya.
Awesome.
Bye.